Hi, I'm Dr. Jason Wagner with Sarasota Vascular Specialists, and thanks for joining me for another Whiteboard Wednesday. Today, we're going to talk about central venous stenosis as it relates to hemodialysis access. What's a CVO, or central venous obstruction? That's a blockage somewhere in the chest or in the outflow from the arms or from the neck down towards the heart. If we have a connection, say, in your left arm between the artery and the vein, and you have a lot of blood flow, more than normal blood flow going from the arm down towards the chest, you're going to have a problem if you have a blockage here. The reason for that is no different than if you have a raging river and you put up a dam. A fistula or a graft is a short circuit between the artery side and the vein side. We do this intentionally to have more flow go through the vein to help it grow under the skin and get big and have good flow to get blood in and out of the body for dialysis. If that connection downstream or up or downriver from the connection has a narrowing in the vein, all of a sudden you're going to have what we call an inflow-outflow mismatch. That means you get all this blood going into the vein side, but it can't all get out towards the chest to then go to the heart to then go to the rest of the body. Instead, what happens is it gets backed up. So think of a garden hose. You have a garden hose, you've got it sitting out in the sun, it's not turned on. Easily flexible, you can move it around. Now, turn the garden hose on, let the water flow out of it. It's heavier, right? Because it's got water in it now. Bending, it's a little bit harder, but you can still bend it and move it. But imagine you kink it, right? So you kink it shut in one location. Downstream, like, out towards the end of the hose, it's still soft and flexible, but there's nothing flowing in it. Upstream, in front of that kink, it's really stiff, really hard. You can't bend it or move it. The same thing starts to happen in our veins. They get really pressurized. So what can happen is your dialysis fistula or graft becomes very pulsatile, and you can have what's called prolonged bleeding after they take the needles out because it's now a high pressure system instead of a low pressure system. But the other really concerning thing that happens most frequently for a central obstruction is that you get a lot of arm swelling. That's because there's this connection between the artery and the vein's being backed up. It's no different than you have a lot of congestion or traffic on the highway. All the cars start getting off at all different exits, and now all the side streets start getting filled up with cars. Same thing's happening with all the little small veins and all the other tissues in your arm. All the blood's trying to find any way out of the veins it can to get back to the chest or back to the heart. And so everything starts to swell up. So if you have a narrowing in this vein, we'll call this the subclavian vein, we'll usually try and get a wire through that and balloon it open. Sometimes they have to put a stent there. Other times, if you have pacemaker wires or other things that are, long-term have been there, like a PICC line or other things like that, you might have scar tissue in that location we have to balloon or stretch open or kind of get a wire and catheter through that. The other thing, and kind of the most common thing that causes central venous obstruction or problems in people, particularly that have been on dialysis or are on dialysis, is if you've ever had to have a central line or a tunneled hemodialysis catheter, a TDC. Because usually what happens is it's placed in the right jugular vein, that's right up here, and then tunnels out somewhere in the chest. Well, that catheter ends up coming down by the heart. Our body doesn't like having foreign things in it. If you have a splinter in your finger, your body's going to slowly kind of try and spit it out to the surface. Well, if you have an indwelling catheter or something in your body, or say in your abdomen or anywhere, your body tries to wall it off with scar tissue because it's not supposed to be there. It's trying to protect the rest of the body from that foreign object. In the large veins of the chest or the heart, the way that happens is the body tries to create a little fibrin sheath or scar tissue around that catheter to isolate it from the blood flow. That'll cause the catheter not to work very well, but that creates long-term permanent scarring or narrowing of this vein here. And this is the most important part of the body, is the superior vena cava. That's where all the blood comes from the arms and from the head and the brain, all that, and back to the chest and back into the heart. So if you've got a catheter sitting here for long periods of time, everything tries to scar down and block that and kind of isolate that catheter. But as it's doing it, it's slowly narrowing down all the outflow from both arms. So you get what's called SVC syndrome, or superior vena cava syndrome, which means as this narrows off, remember that swelling thing I talked about? Well, instead of it just being the arm, now it's both arms and the head to face the neck. So people feel like they're getting really puffy in the head and they can't really lay flat because it's really getting bogged down. That's because of SVC syndrome. What we try and do first and foremost is avoid anything that's going to cause this in the first place. So if you have to have a tunneled catheter temporarily, so be it. You need a way of getting dialysis, but we don't want you to keep that catheter in a moment longer than absolutely required. Yes, there's a risk catheters can get infected, and that's a major reason why we want to get them out. But the most important reason to really get them out as soon as possible so you don't have this narrowing develop in the superior vena cava. Additionally, as this catheter comes down from the jugular vein down to the SVC, it's also blocking all the outflow or all the blood out of the right arm, and it's blocking some of the blood flow from the left arm. So it's not just narrowing here, but it's also blocking the outflow from these areas here, and so it's causing problems. If you have a catheter coming in the left side and down, it's going to create a lot of problems in that area there, and can potentially block all the blood flow from the left arm out, meaning that your access arm, if it's in your left arm, is going to swell up really terribly. And it might mean that we're not able to reopen that or get that open. The ways we'll sometimes try and treat this is coming from the arm down towards the heart. and use balloons or catheters and stents to help open that area up and stretch it open and hold it open. Or we'll have to come from the arm and sometimes from the groin up through one of the veins down here, similarly, and get up and try and get a wire through it and then treat it that way. When it comes to central venous outflow blockages, the biggest concerns are extreme arm swelling, poor functioning dialysis access, meaning it's going to be really pulsatile, having a lot of pressure. And so it's going to be alarming on the machine, on the circuit, or clotting off the circuit and causing prolonged bleeding after they take the needles out. And really, most importantly, low quality dialysis, because instead of having all that blood flowing really smoothly through dialysis circuit, going from the body to the machine, back to the body, to the rest of the body, if blood's not flowing very quickly through the dialysis circuit, those two needles, here and here, they're just washing the same blood over and over and over again. So you're really getting really poor quality dialysis, which means you're going to have longer dialysis treatment times, or you're not going to be getting your blood cleaned. So when it comes to central venous obstructions, the things that matter, hopefully avoiding having to have a tunneled catheter at all. And if you do have one, getting it out as soon as possible. And remember, if you do have a dialysis access and you're having swelling, talk to your vascular surgeon. Give us a call. We'll get you in as soon as possible. We'll do all the ultrasounds and things we need to do to figure out what's going on. And then hopefully be able to treat it in a minimally invasive way in our outpatient center, come and go same day. If you have any comments or thoughts, feel free to leave a comment below or contact our office. Again, I'm Dr. Jason Wagner, Sarasota Vascular Specialist, and this is another Whiteboard Wednesday.